that time of the week, so it's time for an update on what's been going on with my book project slash I'm leaning on writing video inspired by some comments that I got in the first video. So as of right now, I am finished with almost finished with all my world building, and it's been really good because I have discovered that there are things about the world that I have created that I want to explore more or maybe put to the side, because I love mythology as my own thing. I've loved mythology since, I watched Xena Warrior Princess as a kid. So I think getting to write this mythology is just really a fun exercise in trying to link everything together. I think what's been fun about kind of writing out the cultures and basically outlining the story is that I get to explore ideas in this one place that all have to do with each other, and whether I use it or not, I at least have those ideas out on paper, so maybe I could explore them later in a shorter thing. But right now it's just been a lot of fun getting the world building together. And also I think what's interesting is like building the religion that the world that I have is kind of based in, and kind of what that religion sort of puts the ideals for it, because I feel like religion at its core is supposed to be like to give you ideas of how to live your life morally. Not that you need to be religious to have morals, but I think that's what religion tries to do, create order and also create morals, and trying to have the religion show the morals that that I think the world should have, but also understand how like religion can be corrupted, so like seeing how other people have interpreted that faith. Also how everyone views the faith, because even though I kind of took from actual religion the fact that like the deity is kind of like ambiguously described, kind of talking about that chart that I have about the ambiguously brown thing. So every group that kind of worships the deity has a different idea of what the deity looks like because of how they've put into it. So I think coming up with those ideas and kind of thinking about how a world would work, and I think having a history background makes it even more fun, because I like talking about the history of like the cultures and what their interaction between them and the fae, since I like to use fae mythology in my works and kind of building it all together and crossbreeding it. So I think that building this world has been very encouraging. It's made me more excited about working on the project, and I've actually been doing writing as well when I got free time from work. I'm wearing my work clothes now, and putting it together. And I think it's also fun because I'm writing it down in this manual, I don't feel like a rush about having to get to it, because I know one of the biggest things I have with writing is just wanting to get to the good part so bad. Like I wanted to write this scene for so long, but now that I have this outlet, I can kind of doodle it on this page and kind of focus on writing the story and getting it together as I'm working on the side. Which brings up the kind of moving on writing little thing for today, which is to outline or not to outline. And I think I have a very strange relationship with outlining, because when it comes to essays, I rarely, if ever, need to outline. I can just kind of put it together in my head. I know how things should flow in together. I'm good at essays. I can write essays very well. But when it comes to stories, I feel this compulsion to outline. And this was inspired by two commenters who gave me advice to not outline, to just focus on the writing. And I think that that's a different opinion than mine, but also a very legitimate one. There are people who don't need to outline, who don't need to plot everything out. They can just go through it, and who have the ideology that if you're not writing the story, what you're writing isn't worth anything. And I think that while I don't agree with that, it is also a very valid mindset. You aren't writing your story just writing an outline. That isn't the story. You can't sell an outline. But for me, I think my love of outlines and these kind of things in terms of mythology comes from my love of mythology and also my love of guidebooks. I love guidebooks, not because I need the cheese, but because I like how it outlines everything. I like how you can look at the character sets, and I like it as a reference. I love reference books. I think that like one of the reasons I love and I play Dungeons and Dragons, which if you didn't know I did that, I do that. I have my character sheet in here somewhere. Why I love it is because I love the books. I love that you can go and reference stuff and see how everything works, see how the creatures manifest together, what everything means. I like seeing these worlds not only come together, but seeing what they're like when you pick them apart. And I feel like, for me personally, if I'm not outlining, or at least have a rough idea of what I'm doing, I could create something that's not good because I'll meander, or I'll try to like reach in one part. I think that the outline, at least for me, it helps me get to where I'm going. And what I've done and what I've grown to do, because I feel like sometimes the outline can be a hindrance and like you want everything to be like this. I think that the most important thing for an outline, for me personally, anyone can do it their own way, is to really put into like bullet points what are the important plot elements, what needs to happen with A for B to happen, to make sure that your chain of events makes sense. I don't think that, for me personally, I've gotten out of the of having to write on every single thing that happens. I think that I just need to have a rough idea so that when I'm writing the chapter, to make sure that, you know, I am getting to the point. I'm not just spending pages and pages kind of like enjoying myself, because while that's great, you also need to make sure that you're making sure it's readable. You can love it as much as you want, but if the end product is just kind of you like gushing for pages, and the last page is like, oh yeah, well let's move on to the plot, you know, it's not gonna be it won't flow as well. So I think personally for me, I've seen so many examples of what can happen when you don't outline, don't know what's going on in the universe, of you know, some writers who get frustrated and don't remember what they did from one book to another because it's been like a long period, or, you know, it just doesn't come to mind. So for me, I like the idea of outlining. But for some people, it may just seem like unnecessary, but I think everyone has their own taste of doing it, and I think that's what makes kind of the writing process so interesting when you look at different writers of how they do it. You know, J.K. Rowling wrote parts of Harry Potter on napkins, and some people still write on typewriters or by hand. Me, I don't, you know, I'm still finding my own style, but I think that outlining is fun for me because it gives me a way of getting on ideas on the paper and seeing them and working on them when I'm even not writing, because I carry my guidebook with me all the time. I don't carry my laptop with me all the time, so no matter if I get an idea, I have a place to write it down. I always know where it's going to be, and I just like the idea that it's organized and I have it in a pretty notebook. So that's it for this week, and I will see you next week with my next update. And anything you want to talk about world building wise, leave a comment and I'll get back to you next week.